So I say that I'm going to record chapter reactions, discussions in batches once a month on break week. And Oda says, ha! No, you're not. So last week I did a single chapter reaction because it had been a long break. I missed y'all. I wanted to hang out. I was excited to talk about it. So I did a single chapter that week and I did it early. I did the scans that one time because it was my daughter's birthday that weekend and I didn't want to work on her birthday. And then this week, after I posted that video, then we got the announcement that this is going to be a 2-chapter and then break, and then there will be 1 chapter and then a break. So Oda just said, you're doing weekly for the next 3 chapters. So here we are, weekly, and it was another phenomenal chapter. I'm so blown away by how good these chapters have been recently, and I'm so blown away by a character, Garp, who I have generally had 0 feelings about because I personally think that his legend has kind of carried him. And so I'm like, cool, you seem awesome. I'm waiting to see more. There have been some really good Garp scenes, but it's mostly been, you know, this someday he'll be or someday we'll see him in action. And I'm shocked at how ride or die I am for this character, which seems appropriate because it seems like he's about to die. I don't actually think that, but we'll talk about that. But Kobe too is a character that everybody loves, and I've been kind of like, you know, sure, Kobe. But Oda is really trying to make a fool of me, and I'm proud of him for that. Starting with the flashback in this chapter. Oh my goodness, I love Garp in this flashback. Giving them this moral quandary. Do you save the old man or do you save the child? And sweet Kobe is like, I sacrifice myself. And Garp's like, that's not the question. Do it right. And obviously you sacrifice the old man. He's lived his life. He's had his time. We're here to fight for the future. Protect the future. I love Garp's care for the next generation. I love Garp's hope for what's to come and how much he puts into the next generation that he sees hope for. I think that that's so beautiful, and it's showcased here in just such a short period of time. What do you join the Navy to save? It's people's futures. Take the baby and make the most of those years. I love that he cares so much for the future. He hasn't become jaded. He isn't looking at what the world government is doing and looking at all of the pirates abounding that he clearly morally objects to. He doesn't look at all the flaws in the world and say, it's all going up in flames. He says the future has hope in it, and I will invest in that future. I will bet on that future. And this little scene here encapsulates so much of what the chapter does. Leave the old man. Shucks, that's rude. That's so rough that you would have to make me look back on this scene after reading the whole chapter and hurt, because that was a really nice full circle, good job. But then also him putting his trust, putting his bets on the future. And what does he do? He looks at the future of the Marines and he tells him, you go. And he puts all of his faith in his boys that he's invested in. Anyway, we also see the flashback where Kobe barters for himself as captive for Blackbeard, which is a good reminder of that, because I think reminding us of this is a good indicator that, or rather, it's a reminder to us, hey, Garp's probably not gonna die here, because do you remember this barter? Do you remember that Blackbeard wanted to bargain with Kobe's life? Now we have Garp, which is a more valuable life to the Marines, so just so you remember, like, it's like Oda's dropping it here to say, remember this, don't worry, don't forget that there's a reason Garp should stay alive. But I just think, as far as fight scenes go, I think probably, I mean, I haven't been week to week long enough to have an opinion on this, but my guess is that week to week doing chapter reviews, it's probably a lot more challenging to do a fight scene because there's a lot less to unpack and really analyze. But I actually think that Oda does such an extraordinary job of packing so much into his fights. Speaking as someone who's currently reading Dragon Ball, and the fights in that are excellent. Oh my goodness, they're so well done. I really think that Oda does a great job of packing so much emotion into his fights. So you've got the people screaming that they have to abandon ship. They have no hope. This Pizarro, I think was his name, with the island fruit. There's no chance for them to be up against, like, they're going to get smashed. So they have to jump ship. It's their only choice. But at the same time, he can freeze over the ocean, trap them underwater, or freeze them to death, and they could all die. Basically, it's hopelessness. And that desperation, coupled with Garp's smile. People are literally screaming, we have to jump into the ocean. If that huge hand comes down, it will crush hundreds of sailors and civilians at once. What should we do? Like, they're desperate. And then we the very next panel is Garp with a wide smile saying, you boys can save them. He has hope for the future of the Marines. He has hope for the future. Man, I need to harness a lot more of Garp's spirit in me. Listen close, I'll give you an opportunity. I can't just read the chapter to you, though I'd like to. Every line hit in this chapter. Okay, anyway. Thriller Bark is one of my favorite fights in all of One Piece. When, I don't remember if it was Chopper that was calling out commands, but whenever one of them was like, you get this arm, you take care of that leg, somebody was calling out orders, and the different Straw Hats went and attacked oars, the shadow-controlled oars, in different areas and worked together as a team. A lot of One Piece fights are, one person with a lot of supporting cast. But in Thriller Bark, it was the entire team coming together to take down this foe together. And yes, Luffy finished it, but that kind of teamwork is something that I desperately wish was more in One Piece. And I was so excited when Garp started calling out commands and saying, you take care of that, you take care of that, go, have faith in yourselves. You can do this. You can save these people. And then they all went. And Kobe, it was so funny when I was just like 2 seconds ago when I was live reading this chapter, and it was like, destroy it. Do you have bombs or something, Kobe? He says, no, I don't. But ... turn the page. I'll figure it out. I mean, he said I have to think of something, or I'll have to make do is what he said. But like, that's so anticlimactic, and I think that's hilarious. I don't think Oda did that on purpose. I just think it's funny. But anyway, I love Kobe throughout this chapter realizing I'm under the wire. I don't have time to make up a plan. I just have to rush forward and hang my life on the fact that my mentor trusts me. So I've got to do right by him. I have to show him that I'm worth this kind of faith. The faith that you have in me, the future. I have to live up to that. And that's just, gosh, that's so powerful. When Kuzan looks at Garp, when Kuzan's standing over Garp and he's like, where are you going, Garp, with those wounds? And Garp just smiles at him and he says, you mean scratches? Stop! Garp's so cool! He tells him that he's concerned about Garp, and Garp's just like, shouldn't do that. Wham! Wails on him. I love it! And then you just see him zipping through the town with his fist like ready to go, and he punches into Galaxy Divide, punches into Island guy. And we see how much Kobe has been training with our flashback to Kobe, how he's training with Garp, and then after Garp, he's doing all this additional training because he sees that he's not naturally inclined to be a fighter. And so he works harder than anyone else to be able to be strong enough to do exactly this. This hit here, I love this panel where you've got this tiny little ant-sized Kobe at the palm of this giant hand that's about to destroy everything, and he's able to just strike right through the center and explode it all out. And oh, it's just such a cool panel. Does he have some sort of advanced armament captain's superhero hockey? I don't know, I don't really care. This was a really cool panel. I know a lot of people are talking about, does he have Conqueror's hockey? Does he have armament hockey? Like, what's going on here? And whatever Oda says he has, I'll be thrilled with. I just think that the emotions of this fight they're perfect. The buildup of it, the desperation of it, Garp's hope, Kobe sprinting forward off of that hope alone. And then we see how hard he's fought to gain his strength, only to see that strength on display. That's beautiful. One of my favorite things about Oda's writing is how well he does these big cinematic moments. Like, I always reference this because it's one of my favorite ones in Alabasta, Oda when the rain falls, when Crocodile is defeated and the rain falls. That cinematic end that ties up the themes and symbology of the oppression of this arc, and the freedom, the release of the rain at the same time of the release of the chains that Crocodile had on these people. Like, God, that's unreasonably good writing. And this too is unreasonably good writing. That build up, that hope, that drive, that realization of how hard Kobe has fought, and then that moment. That's just good writing. I know it's gonna make some of y'all mad that I don't want to talk about what kind of hockey it is. I'm sorry. The storytelling in this chapter blows me away. And then follow that up with the fact that the guy with the Gollum fruit actually does the web, and he's able to he's able to hold back all that rubble just like Garp told him to do. And these 3 future of the Navy people are able to do exactly what they're told to do, and because of them, all this happens. And also, by the way, I love that Garp dispatched each of them and said, go do the individual things that each of you will absolutely have to succeed at doing in order to accomplish this, and telling them, I believe in you. I have hope in you. And they run, and then he goes in the opposite direction. Why? Because he knows that they will do it. He doesn't need to look over his shoulder. He doesn't need to watch them. He doesn't need to be their support. He knows that his crew, wow, I was like on a roll and I just fumbled over my feet and fell flat on my face. His boys that he's trained up, he knows that they can do exactly what he believes in them to do, exactly what he knows that they're capable of doing. So he runs in the opposite direction and he does what he needs to do. And I'm sorry, but that's just good. This is just good writing. Ah, I love it. Anyway, then Garp gets stabbed through with a friggin' icicle. Thanks a lot, Oda. Look at this man. Look at this man. Look at this man. Come on. Oh, that's horrible. My patrons, when we were doing our live stream, they were like, maybe the icicle is on top of his belly and like not going through him, and maybe he's completely fine. And yeah, maybe, but this looks really bad. And I will say that, you know, what I've been saying is that I don't think Kuzan is a baddie. I do think that he's either like a true neutral, or he is planning on turning on Blackbeard and he's actually still, you know, after the betterment of the world, whatever capacity that might be. I don't think that he's actually completely turned on Garp. That's been kind of the camp that I've lived in. And if that's true, then him just creating an icicle that looks like it's jutting out of Garp, but it's not, would be effective. It's like how he used Ice Capsule on Saul, and actually he preserved his life. So it's certainly possible. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is that Oda reminded us in this chapter alone that Kobe was being captured as a bargaining chip. Kobe's gone now. He got away. Who can be a good bargaining chip at the moment? It's unlikely that Blackbeard's crew, to include Kuzan, are going to kill Garp today, because Blackbeard is going to want him alive. If Blackbeard came back to the island and Kuzan said, hey man, I killed Garp, also Kobe got away, Blackbeard would try to kill Kuzan in that moment. Like, he wouldn't blink. They're not friends. They're only allies for the moment. Blackbeard would try to kill him instantly. So I really don't think that's what's happening here. I really do think that that Garp's not dead yet. However, the foreshadowing is certainly there, with Garp telling them, leave the old man behind. Save the next generation. The future is what matters. And then him saying that, and then at the end of the chapter, what happens? They have to leave the old man behind because the future is what they need to be protecting. That's good storytelling, Oda. Anyway, whenever somebody said, and Vice Admiral Garp is on, and once Vice Admiral Garp is on board, we're in the clear. As soon as that line was said, I paused and I was like, no, you never say that, because that means he's not getting on board. And then follow that up with Tashigi saying, or he said to her, this is Garp, the mission to rescue Captain Kobe is complete. And he's not on board yet, but he considers the mission complete. So she tells him to get back quickly, and how does he respond? Get away from the island. Full speed. I'll manage on my own. Your safety is the top priority here. Isn't that right? One day what happened here will be a major threat to all pirates. Keep moving onward. All of you are the future of the Navy. And then look at that smile. Look at that laugh. He is assured that the future has hope. And gosh, that was a really good chapter. That was a really good chapter. I still don't think Garp's dead. I think that they're holding on to him as a bargaining chip. However, that doesn't mean that he's safe. Who knows what they're gonna do to him while he's captive? And that's horrifying. Plus, the headline said that Garp disappeared, not that we found his body and his heart is definitely 100% verified, not beating anymore. They said he disappeared. So yeah, I think he's captive. I don't think he's dead. But last chapter, I said, I don't think he's dead, and I asked you what you think. So I'll ask you again. Do you think that Garp is dying here? Do you think that this is going to be the end of Garp? Whether it's this chapter or if it's in chapters to come, do you think him potentially being captured by Blackbeard is the end of Garp? I personally still don't think that we're at the end of Garp's story. I think that he has more story to tell, but we'll just have to see. I think now it's finally time for us to go back to Egghead, especially since I think, and I could be wrong, but I think that now we're caught up to what Oda drew before he had his laser beam eyes installed. So I think now every other chapter is going to be post laser eyes. I could be wrong. But regardless, I do think that we're going to Egghead next. I don't think there's going to be a time skip. I think that all throughout the series, Oda has no problem with not doing things exactly as, like, time's obviously passed in these several chapters that we've had away from the Straw Hats, but that doesn't mean that he can't just, like, jump back and show us everything that happened in the Straw Hats. He certainly did that with the Reverie. He jumped backwards and showed us what went on, what we had missed. So I think he's gonna do that again, because it would be very unfortunate if Oda was like, remember what happened in Egghead? You know how like several Straw Hats are down and you know, some of the satellites are being offed, and also Kuma is probably maybe on his way. Bonnie is doing this whole thing with the memories. We've got CP0 coming in, like all this stuff. Remember all that? I resolved that all off page. Now let's go do something else. Like that would be horrible. And I just spent 20 minutes, 15 minutes probably, ranting about what a great storyteller Oda was in this chapter. So I really, really think that we're just gonna pick right back up where we left off in Egghead, and it's gonna be more high intensity, incredible chapters. These chapters have been amazing. Gosh, I've been having such a good time. Anyway, what do you think? How did you like the chapter? What's something that I didn't bring up that you wanna talk about? I loved this chapter so much. Absolutely incredible. Every chapter lately has been absolutely incredible. And I'm excited for the next one. So next week is going to be my Whole Cake Island, Alice in Wonderland, you know, literary thing. And then the following week we'll do another single chapter review, which, my goodness, that's fine. These chapters have been so good lately. I'm perfectly happy to just hyperfixate on one chapter and hang out with y'all. So chat with me more about it in the comments. I post videos every Monday and Friday on this channel, Tuesdays and Thursdays on the review channel, where I talk about what I'm reading week to week. I also do live streams for every chapter that I read on my Patreon. That's always linked in the description if you care. But be sure to keep talking to me about this chapter. I'll see you again soon. Bye.